In this video, we're doing a detailed budget of our trip to Hawaii.
We're Wildly Intrepid.
Whoa!
I'm Alex.
I'm Corey.
And we traveled for over 8 months all the way around the world, from Hawaii, Australia, Asia, Europe, all over the place. So we're doing a video per country. Make sure to subscribe or look in our previous videos to see the whole series of those travel costs.
So we spent 9 days in Hawaii, which maybe isn't that long comparing to some of the other countries we visited, but it's very expensive. So for just 9 days, we spent $519, which really ate into some of our budget.
And a little disclaimer, those are all costs related to our style of traveling, and all the costs are in US dollars and are per person per trip.
One other thing I wanted to mention is these costs are about 3 to 4 years old, so places change very rapidly, especially places that have a lot of tourists going to them. So the prices might have fluctuated quite a bit, so just keep that in mind. So we have 6 main categories that our expenses fall into. The first of those categories is the biggest one, or one of the biggest ones, which is accommodation.
For our stay in Hawaii, we spent about $217, which is quite a bit more money compared to other Asian countries, but we found ways to save money when it came down to where we slept. When we got in Hawaii, our first night was paid for in a hotel with my RBC visa points.
Yes!
Score! Saving! So that's one way of saving some good money when you're traveling. If you have some points, use them for your first night.
If you don't have points, it's often nice to at least book your first night accommodation so you have peace of mind. You don't have to worry about when you get there trying to find a new spot. Often that can be cheaper because you get to shop around, so to speak. But the first night is just a lot nicer being stress-free and knowing where you're going to stay.
Especially when you've been on a plane for, 14 hours flying and you get there at midnight. You don't want to be looking around for somewhere to just crash, sleep off the jet lag. The other nights in Hawaii also were mainly in the hostels. Since hotels were quite expensive, especially in Waikiki Beach, we opted for just getting a bunk bed in the different hostels. It was about $34 US per person for one night just in a bunk bed.
So still not really cheap in the grand scheme of things. One of our more expensive hostels or accommodations, I guess, that was more of a shared accommodation. But hey, it's Hawaii. You can't really avoid it in some cases.
And when it came to the north shore of Oahu, we actually spent one night sleeping under the stars up until maybe 1 or 2 when it started just raining on us.
That was a bit of a frustrating experience. We tried to get a room at the hostel that was there, but it was fully booked. There was like a big surf competition going on, so there was no booking of a hotel or a hostel. I mean, the hotel we could have found a room at, but it was really expensive. And
big resort.
And we really weren't planning on blowing our entire budget in the first few weeks of our travel. We ended up staying on the beach. It's surprising how many people you run into that are doing the exact same sort of style of traveling as you are. We ran into like 5 other people that were just kind of living on the beach, surfing, and that's all they did. They didn't have a place to stay. They just kind of camped out on the beach. And I mean, I don't think we were supposed to in some cases, but you find the spots where you're able to and you make it work.
The second category is food and alcohol, which is the biggest expense that you're probably going to encounter when you're traveling because we eat and drink a little bit.
So in total, we spent very close to what our accommodation was, and we spent $208 US dollars, and we actually saved quite a bit of money in general just by simply eating together.
We are having the ahi poke avocado salad. Looks awesome. It's actually raw ahi tuna, so I'm quite excited.
I mean, it was really hot in Hawaii comparing to, I mean, we went from 30 below here in Canada to
Celsius.
Sorry, yeah, minus 30 Celsius to positive 30 Celsius in Hawaii. So we were a bit shocked. Our bodies were a bit shocked, and we weren't as hungry typically in the middle of the day anyway. So we just shared a meal, and the portions were really big, so we weren't really lacking in food. There was plenty of food for the both of us.
When it came to eating breakfast, most of the hostels or hotels you stay at usually provide you with breakfast. So that's one thing that's really easy to save money on since it's included. As well as some of the hostels where you stayed at, you could actually have cooked your meals. So that could have been one way of saving even more money, but we either packed up some sandwiches when we were hiking, and then our biggest meal of the day would end up being supper time when the sun had gone down. It's a bit cooler, so you have more of an appetite, and we'd be spending about $10-15 per meal per person when it came to that.
You don't always want to cook yourself. You don't travel just to cook. Often some people, including ourselves, one of our favorite things about travel is eating the different food and stuff that they have in different areas. So, that's part of your enjoyment as well. So you don't want to always be cooking just to save money. Unless that's not important to you. And then that's fine. Go do your activities, go do other things and save money on the food.
But you've got to try the Loco Moco. It's pretty good. We're not big drinkers, and we don't usually travel to do big parties, get hammered, drunk. We'll have some drinks.
Sometimes you gotta join them.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's not really our style. We don't like to go on a trip just to drink our travel away.
So in Hawaii, we didn't spend that much money on alcohol per se.
Third category, and being one of the more expensive ones, is transportation. Of course, it depends where you are. Some areas are much cheaper in transportation. And of course, there's, you could take a helicopter to an island, or you could take a bus to the same place, So it's going to vary, but we typically choose the cheaper transportation that's more used by locals.
So in Hawaii, we only spent $28 for transportation, and those costs do not include the flights between countries. That's just a different category, which we have done a video about, all those flight costs.
So make sure to check that out if you're curious about more basic flight costs, because we're not covering them in any of these more intricate videos on the places that we've traveled.
So one way that we traveled in Hawaii, thumbs. So we did a little bit of hitchhiking, which worked out really well. You get to meet locals, they give you different tips on places to go check out, what to eat, and all those things. So that was a really nice way of traveling, especially on the north shore of Oahu.
And you get little tips on sometimes secret surf spots or just secret locations. The best way to travel is to meet locals and even other tourists and have conversations with them. That's why we typically don't have a set schedule, and we're like, oh, we need to see this, we need to see that, we need to see this, and in that order, because we need to leave some room for new things to discover. We often have our best experiences by just listening to what somebody else has suggested that we maybe go check out.
And another mean that we use is the bus. And I don't mean like taking the bus, I mean the bus is what it's called, and it travels all the way around the island. Super affordable. We paid, what was it? For $5, we got 3 stops. So you could actually get on the bus, hop off, check out somewhere, get back on, and for a couple of times. So we circled the whole island by using the bus. It was a good way of traveling.
To clarify, the bus is the bus. It's not two different things.
Fourth category, activities.
The most fun category. It's something we don't mind spending our money on, because typically they're things that we want to do. So as an example, we spent, one of the more expensive trips was going to Honolulu or
Hanoma Bay Nature Preserve.
Hanola Bay?
Hanoma Bay Nature Preserve.
There we go. I'm so glad I have it.
Which is a crater in the ocean.
Yeah, and it was basically it's just an amazing spot to do any snorkeling. So we spent $7.50 per person to check out, basically it was a full day of snorkeling around turtles and beautiful colored parrotfish and just really nice because it was nice and shallow and anybody can do it.
And there's also a little video at the beginning that tells you the history of the location and gives you tips on how to snorkel, what not to do.
What not to touch and so on and so forth. We spent some money on some surfboards because, of course, we're in Hawaii and we love to surf. We need to surf in Hawaii. Mind you, we surfed very badly in Hawaii because it was such a long time, as you'll probably see by some of this footage right quick. But we had some fun anyway, and we got to surf in Hawaii. It was very difficult to find a surfboard in Hawaii at that point in time because the waves were very large. So we found one shop, I think, that would actually let us...
So for $18 a day plus a free ice cream scoop, shaved ice.
Shaved ice, yeah. It was good.
And we're big fans of free activities. So we did a hiking trail, which was phenomenal. 3 Peaks hike. And that was just free. We only had to take a bus, get there, find where the trail started, and hike to the top. So that was quite fun.
A wonderful experience. Crazy. The third peak is just this crazy steep thing. You're walking along this ridgeline. Check out our old Hawaii video if you want to see more of that. It was just a great experience. One other thing that you can do that's a free activity is snorkeling. I'm gonna go out to that reef over there and do some snorkeling. Should be some fun. Alex actually brought her tube and like mask along with her. After one time, I think, we went in the ocean with the tube and mask, and I was just like, oh my gosh, there's so much color. There's so many cool things compared to here in Canada. Like, all the fish are just like brownish color and whatnot. They're not as interesting to look at. So I went right away to the store, bought a little, mask and tuba, and that's what we spent a lot of our time, just finding cool little snorkel spots around the island. And that actually turned into a theme of our entire trip. We just snorkeled everywhere we went, and it was dirt cheap because it's free.
And also, like, if you don't even want to buy a mask and tuba, the hostel where we stayed at, that's where we actually borrowed one for Corey the first time. Miscellaneous. So $17, which was the mask and tuba, and included 2 stamps and 2 postcards, because we decided that every country we were going to visit, we would write a postcard and mail it to our parents. So, lastly, smaller category is souvenirs. When you travel for just a short period of time, you can load up on souvenirs. Like you can fill your backpack with every little space if that's what you wanted, because often you find lots of cool stuff other places. But when you're traveling for like 8 months, or you plan to go to like tons of multiple different countries, it's often not a good idea.
Yeah, your backpack fills up and then you're lugging this around everywhere you go. Of course, you have the option of shipping things. It doesn't always make it there.
No.
Typically, we kept between 1 and 2 items for every place that we went.
For souvenirs, we spent $19 per person. All those costs are per person. We bought souvenirs that were useful.
Yeah.
So, like, bought a pair of shorts so that we could actually wear it and not have to carry it as an extra thing that you're dragging for the full 8 months.
I learned this by experience because I got really ahead of myself and bought a didgeridoo, basically, like this round didgeridoo when we were in Indonesia. Again, if you want to see that, make sure to stay tuned and subscribe so that you can see the new videos that are coming out on the rest of our budgets for the other countries that we visited. But anyways, I bought this didgeridoo fairly early in our trip, and it didn't seem that big. It was only like that big, that round, and it was cool. I could play it and practice my didgeridoo skills. But I had to lug that thing around everywhere I went. I'm constantly repacking my bag so I can fit the darn thing in there. Just pack light. It's much easier.
Yeah. Or we bought those little flags of every country we went to, and we would just sew them onto our backpack.
So as you can see, traveling to Hawaii isn't all that expensive. You can do it on a budget, and it's definitely possible to see a lot of this place in a short period of time. In our next video, we fly out of Hawaii and land in Australia. So make sure to stay tuned, and we'll give you our detailed budget of Australia.